Hi everybody, Flash Tasman back again with another episode of Suzerain. We're still on Chapter 1, President Rayne. Now where were we? Oh, continue, that's what we have to do, we have to continue. Alright, let's have a quick look, I'll make sure I've not missed anything. Move the mark over a little bit. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Let's see what this news has got to say. Blackhaven Times, Newsom begins duty. Murder of the Palace, talking about Berners Circus, yep. The Young Swords, Yep, they want reforms. We heavily condemn this sort of political violence, and this is a very circle of the President must break with reforms. Okay, let's continue. Proceed to the next turn. I keep forgetting I gave him a beard. A few days later, I keep forgetting I gave myself a beard. Okay. It's loading. Okay. Right. Lots and lots and lots of. Let's leave the news articles first. Wholesale Post. Politician shot dead. He spoke of the ideas of the dictatorship of the proletariat was shot during the evening of Anton Rayne's inauguration ball. Identified as a member of the Young Swords. Despite radical views, Circus was elected to be an independent member of the Assembly in his 1953 elections. He is said to repeatedly receive threats from Swedish nationalists who reviewed him as a traitor for promoting Malenism. Blimey, that. Yeah, I'm butchering that repeatedly again, so I apologise. Showed dead body lying face down, draped with a white sheet. Released got the Interior Minister who has been assigned. A group of leading ministers hunt down the killers. Once again, the dark hands have chosen our country as blood in whole sword. Place in dialogue. Police report increased security measures. Unity despite differences. Sordland has two passes in the future. This year is critical to decide which path we embark on. Amid a recession, the lack of stability and security caused by the death of Berners Circus is an unacceptable reality. We need more jobs and a safe atmosphere of our country supposed to grow and prosper. Yeah, basically, yeah, that's in unity. Let's not go mental. Murder was a method of the past. Everybody's critical of the murder. We live these worlds together. Unified message is something we should listen to in those times of loss. Yep. Radical. Farewell Berners Circus. They're going to like him. Terror group. Young Swords to believe held accountable. He's now heard. Mind has gone up yet with me. The most beautiful sea hasn't been crossed yet, said the great poet. Reminds us of we always have hope. We must strive to have hope and make them a reality. Okay. Problem is, they're communists and it's a dictatorship, so I'm kind of torn on this one. But yeah, we can't have them on it, can we? Only after recession is bailing out businesses. Sordland's economy is displaying a downward trend over the past 2 years of Alfonso's presidency. If we want to prevent our country from declaring bankruptcy, we need a way out of this recession, and we need it now. Economic downturn keeps hitting hard at businesses which are struggling to stay afloat. It is clear a helping hand from the government is required to control the situation. There is no other way apart from bailing out businesses to truly provide relief to the economy. Okay, right. Let's now look at the myriad of Agnaland. Let's see what they've got. Look at them. Leader of Agnolia's diplomatic critique of the imbalance of trade between our countries. Concern was raised how much more Sordland profits from net trade than price Agnolia. He wants to renegotiate trade treaties. Let's start from the top and work down. Estord. Receiving for lack of equipment and staff from police forces and Estord. With escalated violence in the city, the officers have been working 12-hour shifts to suppress protests to no avail. They need extra gear. They want extra supplies of tear gas from nearby cities. They need more people and more equipment, basically. Police on again. Nobody's reporting 200 have to deal with ongoing political violence due to small size of police force in the city. So we haven't got basically the police are horribly understaffed. Let's have a quick look over here. latest diplomatic message from leader of Wales warned us regarding the pathway from the mouth of Birgit allows traitors of the state escaping to Sordland. President Victor Smolak has demanded the border security be increased. He sent best wishes, in handling the process in Sordland. Yeah, this guy, I don't like the noise coming from this bloke. Let's kind of cover this lot now. We've got a lot of message to go through. Young Sword youth leader dead after terror attack. Local Young Sword youth wing leader Inuzan Yak Torrens has claimed responsible for organising the attack in the British market that resulted in the death of 7. His base of operations has been raided and he was found dead inside with 2 bullet wounds in the back of the head. The scene was organised to make it look like a suicide. Okay. Cache found with Wurmberg made weapons including 46 Ka-74s, 2,800 pistol bullets, 12 angles, 27 grenades and bomb make equipment was found in the basement of an abandoned house. There we go, that's the real issue. We've got Wurmberg sticking the war in. All we need is Vagland sticking there. So yeah, so Wurmberg maybe supporting the Young Swords, guess. You would rest they'd probably support the Red Youth, whatever they're called. Anyway, let's keep going through the messages. Legal firearms found in Communist Party offices. What was I just saying? 22 building was closed and 22 members of Sordland has been detained. Legal firearms in the office. Splendid. Now what we've got down here. Local police report that a wardrobe full of heavy military equipment was seized in a Young Swords cultural centre in Jen. Regulars of the place denied having any knowledge of the weapons. 22 rifles, 2 machine guns belonging to the Swedish Armed Force dated 9 to 29 but kept in good condition. That's a concern. We know the history the military's got in this country of chucking us out. An attended baggie found the NFP office in Vagland was destroyed by police on suspicion of a bomb threat, which were then verified. Okay, so everything's falling to pieces is what we're trying to establish. Reports of BFF activity. This reports 2 bloody women with affiliations to the Bloody Freedom Party have been coup there. Let's have a quick look at them. They are it's a bloodish militant political organisation based in the bloodish region of Sordland and Welland. Since the Isam incident in 1950, the BFF were involved in an armed conflict with the Swedish state, the aim of achieving an independent bloodish state. They were created in protest against bloodish suppression of the people, bloodish people, and heavily promoted bloodish nationalism among the local community. Let's have a quick look at captured imprisoned. Right, so we got the leader. So what was the Isam incident? The bloody process occurred in 1930. It was regarded as one of the most foundations of the movement of the British people. The Sordland project was proposed as a long-term solution to Birgit's and Sordland's energy problem. Began its construction. The construction site was the home to an old bloody village called Isam, which was planned to be evacuated and raised to open the way for the dam. The arrival of the construction workers to the site led to a series of protests by the local populace. The protests managed to block the construction and continued their protests for 10 days. On the 7th day, a group of military personnel arrived at the scene as a reaction to the protest's increasing size. On the 10th day of the protest, a village elder named Watan Ashraf was shot by one of the soldiers that caused the protest to turn violent. According to Radical, the entire group of protesters were killed that day by the group of soldiers who were ordered by Torpor himself to make sure the construction was underway. The dam was raised and the construction dam started soon after. So basically, the Isam incident, we butchered at these soldiers on the orders of Torpor himself to make sure the construction went ahead, killed the leader of the village, and it all went pear-shaped. And that's why the bloodish people don't like us. Short explanation of that. With the attention to attack the NFP's right there. Okay, we speak here, basically attack the NFP. So the Finnish boys want to track each other. Well, so let's have a dinner with the family first, something nice and pleasant. After long at the palace, I was finally home. I thanked Serge and walked through the gates, nodding at 2 guards as I went by. Even as I turned the doorknob, I could hear Dina rushing down the stairs to greet me. I opened the door. There she was, standing in front of me with expectant eyes. Papa, you're home. Yes, my little bright one. I just ended up hugged her while trying to put the keys in the train next to the entrance. She was going up fast. Lifting up was no longer that easy as it once was. As a little boy myself, I do know what that's like. You could pick him up with a kid, you pick him up dead easy, but now he's like a beast. Picking him up's like no longer possible. Was school. Boring. I like my old school better. I put her down as her expression turned serious. Papa, are the bad men gone? Yes, he's gone. Diana dashed down the hallway. Mama, Papa's here. She was wearing an apron, her long spatula in her hand. Dinner, what did I tell you? But no running in the house. Yes, Mama. Monica approached me, kissed me on the cheek, tantalizing smell wafted from the kitchen behind her. How's your day, dear? Terrific. I finally got some grocery shopping just like the other times, and I'm making your favourite. You mean? Yes, Zabla. Zabla, one of my hometown specialties, a chickpea stew topped with beef, braised in tomatoes and Burgundian spices, served in a clay pot. So I don't, apart from no clue what they are, but that sounds nice. That does. It's my favourite dish, especially paired with kebbage, a potent unfiltered wine from my region. What's the occasion? No occasion to cheer up a bit. She smiled. A smile faded and lowered her voice. I couldn't hear. Especially after what happened at the ball. I'm worried, Anton, for you, for the children, for the country. Diana suddenly appeared next to us. Mama, yes, sweetheart, I'm hungry. Yes, we all are. Will it? Just a minute. Will you help me set the table? Anton, can you tell Frank to come down for his dinner? He's been sulking in his room all day. Taking out the china while I headed upstairs to fetch my son. Loud rock and roll music echoed down the hallway from his room. I caught a faint hint of cigarette smoke. Knock on the door. There was no response. Knock on the door again. There's still no response. Bang on the door. The stereo in Frank's room clicked off. Alright, alright. He unlocked and opened the door. What do you want? Turn those records up louder next time, won't you? I don't think the neighbours heard. Classic parental response that. I'm your father, you will respond when I ask you. Hand over the cigarettes and join your family for dinner. Turn those... yeah, let's do that one. You smoke, don't you? I'm old enough to do what I want. I'm trying to quit that nasty habit. You should stop while you can. Frank heaved a sigh, handed me the pack and headed downstairs. I followed him to the living room. That went easier than I thought it would do. The table was prepared and Monica was ladling the food onto the plates. Come on, have a seat. It won't be tasty if it's gold. We started eating. The room won't count. Monica cooking was as delicious as ever, but I had a feeling that there wasn't the reason nobody spoke. Monica was first to break the silence. Say, did you know that they've refurbished the grocery store? I don't remember it. I don't know if you remember the owner. He's been there every day for the past 30 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for that long? What's if you were president for 20 years, for example? Honestly, I don't want this country to suffer under another sol. Agreed. That must never happen again. Anyway, the grocer is a really nice person. He threw some extra vegetables with my... Suddenly slammed his hands on the table, battling China, Monica and Diana, and I stared at him. So this is how it's going to be. We're just going to sit like it, nothing happened. Dad, you could have been killed. Mum, you could have been killed. Any one of us could have died. Then lowered her lips, started to tremble. Monica put her hands on Frank's shoulders. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to you or Diana, even if it cost me my life. But still, it's fair enough. He's got a right to be a bit upset, really. Can you just tell me something more about this? It was really close, Dad. My security assured me it took Massachusetts one rogue shooter. We were not even. It was one rogue shooter. We were not even the target. But if we were, Troy, you have to trust him. Monica turned to me. We have to trust each other. Things come on the table, but we finished that food in silence. Frank got up first, retreated to his room. Monica lifted Diana up and plopped her in front of the living room before the tea room. Let's start reading that again, shall I? Monica lifted up Diana and plopped her in front of the living room TV before turning to the table. Sat across from me, Anton. He is still young, I know, but there's not much longer we can shield him from the ugliness of the world. Yeah. He's scared, Anton. Quite frankly, he's not the only one. Yeah. Oh, two things might escalate. I agree. He got up, shoots me, I messed my shoulder for a moment before leaving me alone in the dining room. I sat alone, drained my glass of cabbage. Had I been lying to Frank and Dana, was the threat to my family truly over? Time would tell. Okay, saving the game. Let's look at the news. Presses across Sordland. Many pieces deemed violent. Red youth flags can be seen in cities around Sordland, carrying out violent riots. Cities. Okay, so basically, thousands of people poured into Republic Avenue in Lockhaven and Sol Square in Hull Sword in response to the Young Swords attack. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So today, protests in Gooney, taking place in the Gooney region in response to the assassination of Bird Circus. Protests about the Young Swords, cost of living, inequality, prevalent in the country. Large rallies organised by citizens of Benfield Bar and a large congregation of Red Youth members of organised cities and protests aimed at hampering public transport in Valgain. Poor white police broke them up. Political chaos. Political violence is on Sordland since yesterday, while officials from police claim to have situation under control. Protests are turning to riots, violent attacks going across the country. NFP and Loose, who are Loose, are the oldest NGO of Labour Union, right, okay, they're the Labour Union. Okay, Labour Union of Sordland, okay. According to Valley to condemn communist influence from United Container and called the violent protesters traitors to Sordland. These Malenivists, I don't even think I'm saying that, Malenivists are roaming our streets, due to violent attacks in disguise of peaceful protests. On the other hand, has gathered condemned nationalist violence in Sordland. The protests gathered large crowds of agitators from both sides of Sordland. Tours vandalised shops. Blimey. A group of young sources like vandalised dozens of shops in the trade district of America, targeting minorities. An NFP office burned. According to the Morning, committed arson, fire Wow. It's all gone very wrong very quickly. So I was a quick cup of tea then. Right. I arrived in front of the doors leading to the Situation Room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts. Like the internal matters moved to external matters after a short break. Lilias Graf and the Interior and Justice Nina Morgan joined us for the first part of the law enforcement briefing. The second part, Ministry of Defence East South Lancashire would join with a few high-ranking officials, including Valken Kruger of the Armed Forces. I opened the door and they were all waiting for me. Got up from the seats. Let's begin. Everyone in the room sat down except Lucy. He put on his glasses and went through the documents in front of him. Shortly after, he raised his head and addressed the attendees. Mr. President, ladies, we'll kick off today's meeting with the internal security briefing. It's all going to pot, is what I think he's going to say. I'm assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We all have been scheduled without much further. I'll jump into our first topic. As feared, political pressure has political atmosphere has worsened. Reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising as we feared. What is the status on the Berners Circus investigation? I've received news this morning that the investigation into the murder of Berners Circus has concluded. That was quick. Oh, so we know her, old school. Let's have a look at this one. She is political attorney for the Southern Region of Bergia. He serves during the USP in 49. Served as Vice Minister of Justice during the Alfonso reign. She worked as an attorney in Dyer. Her family became a wealthy family. They lost her assets in the National Asset Plan of the 1930s. Basically says she's lost everything and rebuilt her life. A strong critic of Tarquin's program of vocal opposition to this. Says she is a reformer then, I'm assuming. De facto running ministry under heavy pressure from the solid elements in the administration. She earned a reputation for the fight against corruption in the ministry. in the ministry among protests from the Supreme Court. Attorneys, yep, see, she is a reformer. I know we need to know more. A further investigation and testimony have confirmed the motive and the events leading up to the shooting. Fierce Prime, members of the Red Youth initiated a violent attack on our Young Swords local leader in Jen. We believe the Young Swords then called for revenge leading to the death of Mr. Circus. Since we often spoke against the Young Swords and nationalist elements in the Assembly, he's a big threat. Not to mention his radical communist views. Youth are clearly to blame since they triggered a radical. Sordland lost a great writer for what? Yeah. It is unfortunate but unlikely it is likely that an incident would happen. And the report pointed at the highlight section of the document. The investigation revealed a troubling fact. The funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Quintana. Yeah, exactly. Several Red Youth members with ties to United Quintana have been detained. The information extracted from them points personally a communist uprising in Sordland. This isn't unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I think this is this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Sordland. Naya eagerly lifted her hand and I motioned for her to speak. I went over the point in detail. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign influence, yet United Quintana has humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries, including Sordland. I also don't want to jump to conclusions immediately. We shouldn't create a crisis with them. Nearly 3 decades ago, they funded General Ricard and tried to establish a communist dictatorship in our country. If it was not for Colonel Saul, we would have seen the real crisis. Yeah, see, she's old school. Took a sip from her glass of water and continued. Our police chief, as General Carl Greaser, has linked the funding channel to the United Quintana consulate in Benfey. As we know, the enemies of Southern are many, but also the threats inside. We also have threats inside the country. We need to remember, as a government, we have all the power to deal with any threat. Our country has it at its aegis as a part of our job. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve neither freedom nor security. I agree with that entirely. This is debatable, yes, we know what more security and surveillance caused to this country under President Saul. Let's never forget that President Saul, God bless him, brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos. But moving on. Show your true colours, dear, go on. Our highest eternal threat comes from estimated 20,000 storm-blooded freedom led by imprisoned Dewal Arg. They are a banned political organisation, now a militant force that is trying to incite racial violence. They make lots of noise but have little substance. A barking dog doesn't bite. Are they supported by bloody citizens? Are they cooperating with any political organisations? To some extent, luckily, they couldn't attract a wide audience of Bloods, but they could potentially attract thousands if anti-bloody sentiment spreads in Sordland again. Page 3 of a report. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Wurmberg border. They are filled with military-grade Ka-74s. We expect more that have been smuggled in since a group of Bloods were caught with his guns at a checkpoint not far away. Wurmberg has been getting active aggressively in the region for a long time. I'm not surprised that it would attempt to weaponise the Bloods people against us. This is worrying, very worrying. Can we make direct correlations to blame Wurmberg? It is expected that Wurmberg would undermine us, but this is too far. We need to keep level ahead of Wurmberg. They're looking for reasons to take action. Yeah, we do. They will play dirty while we play nice as a battle. We will lose. This is grave news, but we must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-bloody sentiment. What is the second most important threat? It is gang violence that is threatening Nagas and Aglan region. 2 more public organised crime families are at war. The potential for a bloodshed is real. Why can't we just arrest them? The primary reason is deception and corruption. They've infiltrated several government offices and the police. That's how they can evade us. They're playing with fire. I want them good for good. Well, I agree. it will make Sordland a better place. It will not be easy. These gangs exist because corruption is so common in our country. They buy our police officers and slip our checkpoints. This grasps our deeply. I shall be honest with you, with our current capabilities we may not be able to prevent the furthest arming of separatists while maintaining order in Bergen, Argus and Agland. You promise to increase Sordland security and law enforcement budget. You must keep this promise. Yep. We rid our country from separatists and violent thugs if you can support us. I wish you could stop using the word thugs, Lilias. The real problem is corruption, which is fueling gang violence. This is very likely the reason why weapons were smuggled in. A high budget could help us on that. Valid points. Corruption is root to all evil. Yeah. We can look at once weapons have been found, their gangs have been beaten. Just like the previous administration kicking the can down the road, this is what destroys our institutions. Well, this concludes the topics for the internal portion. Thank you for the updates, Miss Graff, Miss Morgana. Thank you for the overview. Until next time, 2 minutes after we take a second part. Upon invitation, ISF Lancia, along with 3 high-rank officials from the military, walked into a room. General Kruger, Chief of the Armed Forces. Let's look at this bloke. Hang on. Thordish, 4-star General. Previously served as Chairman of Chief of Staffs. Second Chief Army Staff. He is the longest serving and most decorated officer in Sordland. Imperial Army, before night withholding main positions. Turn against him after loading his mass executions. Hang on. In 1920s he supported General Ladarian's military coup, but later turned against him after Ladarian's mass executions in 1928. He organised under Sol. Okay, so again, he's a bit old. He's a bit old time as well. Both these lighters are dangerous. For under command, yes, these guys are both dangerous. This is our biggest threat. This pair here, him and him. Let's begin. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalations on our borders. Therefore saluted is a stronger and sharp cheekbones. His tall stature and youthful medals combined with a deep, intense stare made him look threatening. He was in his 70s yet had bulky body as a result of commando training. He's the most second. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Sordland, he was also the longest serving. Shake his hand. Have to look patiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Good. Gentlemen, thanks for coming. So you are Minister of Defence. Thanks for coming. Let's begin. Took their seats at the table. Rest of you stood by the door. Mr. President, the situation in the western and northern borders towards Rumbig is very tense. We're observing deployment divisions close to our border. Rumbig has been acting increasingly expansionist in the past decades, also interfered in Agnolia, turning against us. I trust capabilities of arms handle these threats. This concerns me very much. What is our current strategy? Drawing close to the borders of the board force and keeping the Army Reserve divisions near. It seems they want to increase pressure both externally and internally. President, if I may, please, General. The picture is becoming clear. The latest information from the interior about weapons caches are now there's an activity military build up close to our borders. The task situation was announced by our General Staff, and our prediction is our future territorial incursion by Rumbig. I completely and wholeheartedly agree with that. I have complete trust in the General Staff. We will not lay down, Mr. President. The General Staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then can we stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged military force will hold them at bay. Falcon is right. We need an increase in the military budget, although we don't see exactly how to spend the budget. That much we can agree on. I'm concerned. Number 2, we need strong allies to withstand such as superior power. They are our nemesis. That's an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, Mr. President. What? Like not, we must be prepared. During the election, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I ask you to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Sordland is in your hands. As you said, we will see. Across the man's face, our forces would crumble under a decree. Our forces would crumble under a decree, and Lundberg would. Lundberg will be much more compelled to exploit our weakness. Our country hasn't formed to an evading force for 200 years. We cannot happen, Mr. President. We should find regional allies like Vagsland or Lesbia to tear Lundberg. There are several options on the table. Lundberg wouldn't attack any nation allied with any superpower. One shoulders that sacrifice they require us to make. Yes, that will. But what is the difference between losing your independence to one or the other? Silent soldier entered the room and let us know. The call come through for the military. Excuse me, Mr. President. Left the room. Immediately entered the room. Expressed had changed. Mr. President has been in Lundberg in military activity close to the Narble border. I just spoke with the national commander. Welcome. We should go to Minister and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there's truly an extraordinary attempt, we relate immediately to you and wait for your further orders, Mr. President. Remain calm. Make sure not to escalate things further. Nobody wants war. But skies utmost caution, Mr. President. Hail Sordland. Hail. Left the room. Lundberg was already testing us, and reports from interior indicated. Let's start that again, shall we? Lundberg was already testing us, and reports from the interior indicate interference inside our borders. Communist, nationalist, bloody rebels, Lundberg expansionism. What was next? Sordland had always been the key piece in the chessboard of global rivalry between Alcacia and United Contana, but in recent years there was no such aggression from Lundberg, not at these levels at least. All it takes is one spark to start the. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Lundberg had to close their consulate in Latchhaven. Okay. Right. Let's have a quick scan around the old border, see if there's anything we missed. Maybe the keyboard will be easier. Right, let's look at the news articles first. Let's news first, have a look at that. Okay, 6 news articles. Rumours of an infrastructure project. Anonymous source reports on today several government officials have invited to construction companies regarding a major infrastructure project. We hope companies like we hope very qualified and experienced companies like Underhaul Construction will win the bid. Recently, there's a gigantic real estate company that's Suzerain for construction projects. Okay. Yeah, hang on. That's the key bit there. Some of the recent work in the Wholesale Central Station, which they have now completed on time but violated workers' rights in the process. Yeah. That's a difficult decision we're going to have to make. Gang violence claims young girl's life. Delphi box from apartment, which was an area of the gang of the Cornelli, was a reckless acts of violence. Radical. I was there with General Adair and we clashed in the planes outside Wholesale and the armies of Soldier people killed each other. I was there when Colonel Sol won the war, often bombarded cities with soldier civilians inside them. We saw this great nation fall into bloodshed and chaos. We thought we'd learned the lesson and formed a new republic, but one man's idea became the idea of the state when we allowed it to be forced upon us. We were a generation that lived with Tarquin for most of their lives. However, this generation is different. Our kids have not experienced civil war and martial law. This generation is born in a changing time. We cannot allow this same conditions to return. We cannot forget when Colonel Adair declared martial law in 1987 when his tanks rolled and murder took place. His tanks cannot roll again. Bombs cannot call again. I agree with that completely. I'm agreeing with the radicals going on. The second time, third time in this playthrough I've agreed with them. Right, where are we now? Underhaul Construction once again. Underhaul has once again taken picked as the #1 construction company of the year by reputable statistics, Sordland. This was the 11th time the company was elected top spot in the row since Christian Sharp became CEO. Veteran industrial leadership congratulated his employees first and foremost in a private company meeting held in luxury resort in Ellery. He also mentioned the recent addition of Hartleson organisation CEO Marcel Conrotti to the board of advisors to help mention this great achievement. Okay, so they seem to be the people at the time. It's close at Sordland, one of the few East Macopan nations to have diplomatic ties with the Northern Kingdom. It comes right after the point of mugging troops close to the borders. Plus uncertainty, the main reason has been loaded overnight, as best of expected to leave Sordland on Friday or Saturday. Dozens of citizens with Rumburg and relatives went out to protest against this action in the afternoon. As I see this issue as further deterioration of relations between Sordland and Rumburg, and this can be easily regarded as a one-sided provocation from the north. Okay. Overnight, red youth protesters clashed with youngsters at the Vessard city centre, resulting in many injuries. The counter press this as were cornered in front of the Cantonal embassy after they were pushed back by the police. The embassy opened its doors and red youth members escaped inside. Right, okay, so that says it all, doesn't it, really? That says it all. Basically, the United Cantona helping the communists. Okay, oh, that's flashing. Country overview. Diplomacy is diplomatic pressure. Pressure of Rumburg. Okay, we know that's not a massive surprise. National vote. There have been violent protests happening across the country due to recent events. If we don't contain the situation, it could do harm to our country. Yeah, really. Read a report. Intelligence reports that RKC has successfully completed a missile for an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is estimated incapable. Let's start that again. Which has an estimated capability to accurately destroy targets at thousands of kilometers range. RKC missile capabilities have significantly increased, posing a threat to territories that are further away from Western Macopia. Basically, they've got great big guns and they could blow things up. Reactor unrest. The political situation in our country has escalated. Chief Secretary Lucien Gallade has prepared several action plans that we conclude we will address it. We will address the intense and political climate. Expand the police by deploying all recruits in training. Visit affected towns. President Rayne talks to protesters. President Rayne visited towns around Greater Halsall and Greeny regions which were heavily affected by the protests and riots that popped up in the country, triggered by the death of Circus. He has been talking to protesters, listening to conservative citizens. This sends a powerful message to soldier citizens that the government is walking among them and listening to their problems. Halsall is desperately trying to restart Sordland's economy after the recession, and this political message is not helping. Yeah. They seemed to like that, didn't they? So a quick look around. It's late in the evening. The Maroon Palace was finally getting somewhat quiet, and I returned to the office at the top. I eagerly approached my chair and sprawled out on it. It's been an exhausting day, just like every day since I took office. Lighted a cigarette, poured some whiskey, leaned back and relaxed, prepared to go home. I forced myself out of the chair, gathered my jacket and briefcase. I really needed to make some time for my family. I glanced at the window before leaving. Surgeon guards were outside the main gate as usual. I had a couple of knocks on my door. My secretary Olivia sooner entered. Mr. Tusk is here to see you. You had a meeting in Lothburg spokesman. I'm sorry for not giving you proper notice. You're kidding me. Do your job properly, don't expect me to keep track of them from last year. Bored it out a little bit. You always feel like I probably made a mistake with my notes and it will never happen again. So dear Mr. President, what do you want me to tell him? Swaggered into it is Mr. Tusk. Millionaire businessman investor with the current spectrum of Lothberg Group, who owns Economics Group. Owns Berger Steel Company, Ep3 Sword. Okay, so he's rather important journal. Don't do. He's rather important. I met Sordland's best fun businessman once or twice, but never alone. He had large jowls, blindingly shiny shoes, and an air of someone who was used to getting his way. And then drink Mr. Tusk, Walter whiskey, cognac. Preferably before you were born, sweetheart. Oh, condescending. I'll check the supply room. Backed out of her, due to him an apologetic look as she did so. Well, to a hung up his up, which I could see was lined with mink. He fixed me a long hard stare and then broke a toothy grin. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm here to congratulate you. We both sat down. My business partners and I wish you a successful term as leader of our nation. Thank you, that's been nice to the man. I had no chance to say this at the ball with all the panic, but you very much look forward to working with you. Likewise, I'd like to build a profitable relation between us. That being said, there are some concerns on mine that people represent, which I'd like to take the opportunity to clear up. I'm listening. The ruined state of the economy in Sordland has influenced everyone. The recession has hit us all hard. Walter pulled out a box of cigars from his jacket. I bought this from Lesbia, the best cigars on the whole continent. Would you like to try one? I grabbed one out of the pack, lit up with his light. Let's try read that one again, shall we? I grabbed one out of the pack. I don't like grab that. I would take one slowly. It makes me look desperate, that does. Walter lit it up with his large engraved lighter. Now we're talking. A man who knows pleasure and business. Walter grabbed himself a cigar and lit it up as well. We looked out of the city scenery as we both puffed away. I heard that you purchased stock from Armadine Industries. In the case of Smart Buy, they're developing new gadgets that are going to be profitable. Risk comes with reward. I expect good return on those investments. You have a keen eye for business. I will buy a couple of thousand shares to expand my portfolio. I hope my investment pays off for both of us, Mr. President. His eyes wandered away for a moment. We're having a good start to this. You're having a good start to the term for sure, besides the recent troubles. Glad that you have decided to promote the free market, which is the only thing that gets out of this mess. We had nothing but trouble so far. The ability of the free market to evolve is hard to dispute. To that close relationship, then. One that will bring Sordland out of this crippling recession. He grinned. I don't like where this conversation is going. The high-speed rail investment is a good decision. The business logistics will improve on BC economy once it's finished. Our goal is to focus on the needs of the businesses, to boost the economy. The right intentions for sure. We can be close allies. The group can help you get Sordland out of the recession, which will be the key problem to solve in your term and could even determine your re-election. Let's start with a gesture of goodwill. Some investment projects contract will be rewarded to one of the main three contenders. He pulled out a cheque out of his pocket and slid it towards the table. My personal bank details were listed about 500 storage rent ready to be transferred. This was 6 months for President's salary. If the contract is somehow awarded to Underhaul Construction, they would not only work hard to deliver but also do it on time. What do you think, Mr. President? Wouldn't that be good? A noise. The door Olivia was standing there holding a tray of drink or two. I saw Mr. Tisbot like I found as a 94 to do segment. I hope that's acceptable. She quickly put the tray on the desk and walked away. I wonder if she heard that conversation. Remind me to visit your office more often. Now, where do we have a deal? Indeed, Mr. I'm looking forward to our future section. Not yet. We both know you can do better with that amount. No, I'll make my own decision. Do I take the bribe? No, I'm not going to take the bribe. I don't know. Cold cup of tea. The issue is this. That screams of a future problem. If I do that, it's going to come back and bite me. But I'm going to probably go with them anyway, given the newspaper article we had last time. I'll probably go with them anyway. However, I could do that while not taking the bribe. I'm going to go with that one. Sign Paul the check where he's put in his pocket. Yeah, did you think I was just another cut partition? If this is what you came for, then we are done. Thank you for visiting nonetheless. It's a good share opinions, and I will meet again in the future for sure. Please say to Mr. Conrati for me. He smiled. Good evening, Mr. President. And the door. Let's go home. Marissa Bold, did you accept his offer? Didn't. How could you? Of course I didn't. You could. How could you even ask me that? Girls have told me that all kinds of dealings went on with their fancy administration. You feel like I'm Mr. President? I certainly am not. Right, is right. Okay. Right. So let's see. Blimey, more things to deal with. Right. Keebler suggests expanding executive powers. Suggested Constitution expand executive powers, having fuel to debate the possibility of reform in the 1929 Constitution. He pointed out that situation Sordland emphasising for strong leadership. The Court of the Constitution suggests the division of executive powers between the Cabinet and the President, who has no immunity before the courts for act of treason or unconstitutional behaviour during office. In the system, the NFP suggest the President would have absolute immunity before the courts, and if it is the President who would chair the Cabinet, it's not clear whether NFP proposal suggests that the President should have no presidential decrees that might result in abolishment of the Assembly and take the country to an early election. Despite the independent counter proposals to give some parts of the Parliament to take down the President, reforms demands gain popularity. Demands for reform are getting more popular than ever. Latest public opinion show that the majority of Swedish people want changes to government structures established after Torpor Games military coup in 1929. The public trust in both the Grand National Assembly and Supreme Court is at an all-time low. With rumours of reform talks coming out of the Assembly, it seems unlikely without complete unity none of the parties will be able to lead such a proposal. In order to change the Constitution, the proposal must collect 150 signatures and then reach a need 166. If the proposal passes the Assembly, it is subject to another voting in the Supreme Court's judicial review. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Try anyway. That's just a march. Okay, here we go. Hang on. As value as a mission, like a British member of the Assembly who is standing for leader of the Independent stands as leader of the Independents. Who is standing as leader of the Grand National Independents in the GNA. Although not a member of the WFP, he is a leading figure of the event. Okay, just basically going about anti-bloody sentiment. Well, what's this meeting about? This is about local police. That's that one. So let's just not look at that for the time being. I can't anyway, can I? Let's go with that. You want to go about Conrati. Let's deal with this one first. Let's suppose what that was about. That is economic relief plan. Right, okay, which order should we deal with? None of these are particularly pleasant. Let's go this one. One of our agents acting as a young citizen member has encountered two members of the local police force, Enrica Anselmbala and Vic Aneza. According to this report, the policeman tried to bribe the agent to burn down the store that belongs to a known Communist Party member and instigate further violence. We have detained the policeman on charges of corruption. I should jolly well hope so. Let's get Conrati first. We added to the meeting location set by Marcel Conrati. The motorcade was made up of most confidential and trustworthy team. After a few hours of drive along the river Esquel, we took a turn for entering Conriat. The darkness started setting as we drove up the hill. Where are we, Serge? We are nearing the House Country Club, Mr. President. We will be there shortly. We arrived at the big iron gates of the country club. As we arrived on the big iron gates of the country club opened, it was huge and outright extravagant. The main building, inspired Lesbian architecture, was lit from all sides. It was rather chilly as I approached by Peter Vecht and Lucien Gallard. I hope the journey was comfortable. The location is very remote indeed. It is exclusive control for people who value their privacy. Enter the building. After opening the marbling oval door, we were greeted by two tall women. The receptionist led us to the meeting rooms upstairs. He was a really handsome man with fair hair. He walked towards us and reaching out for a handshake. This Sordland's largest operating media energy construction trade. He's doing Sordland today. Degree. Right, so he's a going through this. He's a business rival of Walter Tusk, basically. I think. Yeah, shook his hand. He held a firm grip. It's such a pleasure to meet you in person, Mr. Conrad. I appreciate your efforts to reach out for our mutually beneficial friendship. Thanks for hosting us. I admire your father very much. May you rest in peace. Welcome. Your kind words have touched me, Mr. Vice President. He was a great man. He was indeed a great man. May you rest in peace. He was a true entrepreneur. Yeah, we are saddened. He would be very happy to hear this from you, Mr. President. It's time to look forward. Let's talk about our bright future. Let's have a seat. Marcel gently pointed us to our seats. We sat down at a gigantic table before speaking. He knocked on wood. The past few months have been tumultuous, to say the least. I'm glad you and your family were unharmed at the shooting. The whole incident must have been a shock for the kids. They aren't used to what we lived through back in the 20s. I still remember when my father took us out of the country when it became too dangerous, the economy had. We were startled, but the most important thing is we were safe and sound. Yep, of course, that's all that matters. No family should suffer the tragedy ever again. We have enough of that. Well, I know I'm known to be a straightforward person, so let me get to the point without wasting your valuable time. It was during the Alphonse campaign that when I was struck by what you have done within the party. I looked at me and took one look at the painting on the wall. Let me be straightforward. Sit down and get to the goddamn point. Get to the damn point. Okay. Hey, look at the painting. Give Lucy a puzzled look. Let's look at the painting. The famous piece depicted a giant sleeping beneath a village. The trees, rivers and hills were all part of the giant's body. His eyes were two caves looking up at the people. It showed daylight at the far left and night time on the far right. Is that meant to be symbolic? The giant seemed to be watching the village. It was totally unbeknownst to the villagers. Marcel pointed his finger at me. You said you will transform this nation, Mr. Rayne. My conglomerate has a way of doing things and I don't want them to change. So I want to cooperate with you. Please explain further. You might have the people supporting Amsterdam, but what happens when you make mistakes? Conrad, everybody makes mistakes. What is that supposed to mean? Let's hear his point, Vice President. Being president of this country means having many enemies that would resort to anything to bring you down. Let's see these enemies cause a scandal, leak sensitive information from the administration. These would be destructive when they were released, if they were released. Continue. Assume the articles would actually protect your integrity no matter what. Try to imagine how up to 5 million people I reach will not lose faith in you. Let's hear your offer. What do you want? I want two things, Mr. President. Number one is a guarantee from you that the Rayne administration won't meddle in Hoss affairs no matter what happens. Okay. Number two is a simple gentleman's favour in return. Let me prove my service to you first, and I'm sure you won't disapprove when the time comes. This is an interesting proposal. Not just interesting, but necessary. Surely this is a win-win situation. The media will be on your side, strengthen your position. It will protect you from business. It will also protect my business opportunities throughout the country. Throughout the changes this country will see. What's interesting? He owns the. Yeah, also chairman of Sordland today, the most influential newspaper in Sordland. This guy's important then, basically. Okay. What do you think about this, Lucian? At least Andrew has whispered. I think it's a good deal. He's right. We need the media support with his newspaper and channels on our side. We can dodge a lot of bullets. At the bottom is a favour request. We don't know what it is, and he could ask for something that could point fingers at us. Marcel interrupted us. Mr. Do we have a deal? We have a deal. I'm going to get into bed with him. After that, you can tell me personally through this number. As soon as you know that a story against you will break, please call me and it will be taken care of. Ep3 will uphold your end of the bargain as well. Deal is a deal. As long as you do. You can count on me. We'll meet again. Goodbye. Thank you for your time, Mr. Conletti. Okay then. Right. Well, that was interesting. Updated information. Law. Media bias. Okay, so basically, alright, so we've just basically got into bed with Conletti. Alright, so we've got economic release plan. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We've got two big decisions to make. We've got the rail contract to finalise, and we've got that's economic relief plan. That's going to be read as well. Alright, so we've got two important decisions to do, but I tell you what, I'm going to leave them till Thursday's episode. Leave them on a bit of a cliffhanger like you do. Wow, that's exhaustive reviewing these, it really is. Alright, okay, so what's the problems? We've got unrest with bloodish minorities down in Bergia. We've got issues up north with Rumberg, supplying arms to the Young Swords, and we've got issues with United Cantano, which I'm assuming will be somewhere, I think, supplying weapons and arms to the Red Youth, and also, as we've seen, actually allowing the Red Youth members to escape into their embassy. So we've got a lot of issues. We've also got to keep the military on side because they are very dangerous. Okay, so what I'm thinking is next. So we've got. I'm going to read this thing here to get it out of the way. Didn't with board. It's getting tense. Along with site training close to our borders, and did not respond after issuing a radio message. On duties along the border. Okay, let's kind of keep that going. Right. So I think we're going to leave it there. We've got decisions to be made next time, so I will see you on Thursday. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and let me know what you think, and again, as I've just said, I'll see you on Thursday. Alright, bye.